Okay, let's talk about something we've all been through. That moment, we're going to tackle it head on today with a super simple, high energy routine that will help you absolutely crush those awkward silences and just keep conversations alive. You know the feeling, right? You're chatting with someone, it's going pretty well, and then it just stops. The conversation just hits a brick wall, and that silence, ugh, it starts to feel so loud. You're just sitting there thinking, okay, now what? It's that little spike of social anxiety, isn't it? Your brain just goes completely blank, and you're scrambling, trying to find anything to say to fill the void. Look, we've all felt it, but it really doesn't have to be that way. We've got a plan. All right, so here is the very first tool for your conversation rescue kit. Think of this as your spark plug. It's a simple two-word phrase that can bring a dying conversation right back to life. And it's all about these two words: I imagine. So, let's say someone tells you about a really tough project they have at work, and then nothing. Instead of just nodding, you can jump in with, wow, I imagine that's really challenging. Or maybe they mention a cool trip they took. You could say, I imagine that was just incredible. See, it's that easy. So why does this one little phrase work so well? Well, it's not a direct question, so it doesn't feel like you're putting them on the spot. It's more of a gentle nudge. It shows them you're actually listening and you're trying to understand what they're feeling. It gives them the perfect excuse to say, yeah, it really was, because, and just like that, the conversation is flowing again. Okay, so if I imagine is the spark, this next part, this is the engine. This is what's really going to give the conversation some power and move it forward. It's all about shifting away from boring facts and focusing on stories instead. You know, think about it. Facts can be total conversation killers. If you ask someone, where are you from? And they just say, Chicago, well, where do you go from there? It's kind of a dead end. But stories aren't invitation. They build a real connection because you're inviting someone to share a little piece of their life, not just a random data point. So how do you actually make that shift? Well, here's your cheat sheet. Instead of asking what someone does for a living, try asking, so how did you get into that? Instead of just asking if they liked their vacation, ask, what was that whole experience like? These questions are basically keys, and they're designed to unlock the story behind the fact. But okay, what if you've tried the spark, you've tried to pull out a story, and you're still met with silence? This is where our final tool comes in, and trust me, it's just as important as the others. It's the graceful exit. Sometimes a conversation just naturally comes to an end. And you know what? That is perfectly okay. Having a simple, positive way to end things is a sign of social skill, not failure. Something as easy as, well, hey, I've got to run, but it was really great talking with you, works perfectly. Listen, the goal here isn't to make every single conversation last for an hour. The real goal is to make a positive connection. If you try to force a conversation that's already over, it just makes things way more awkward for everyone. A clean, friendly exit keeps that good vibe you build and leaves the door open for next time. Okay, so we've looked at all the individual tools. Now let's put them all together into one simple, easy-to-remember playbook that you can take with you into any social situation. Here it is, your new 3-step routine. Step 1 is the spark. You use I imagine to keep that momentum going. Step 2 is draw out stories. You ask those open-ended questions that get a narrative going. And finally, step 3 is the exit. If the silence just won't quit, you leave on a positive note. Spark, story, exit. That's all you have to remember. When you boil it all down, it comes back to these 3 core ideas. First, be genuinely curious about the other person. Second, always be on the lookout for the stories hidden behind their statements. And third, have the confidence to know when to walk away. A great conversation is about quality, not quantity. So that's the playbook. It's simple, it's something you can use right away, and it puts you back in the driver's seat. The only question left is, now that you've got the keys, whose story are you going to unlock next?